to go down and try and hand dig them up out of the soil. And then as Matt was saying, they're basically used straight out of the ground as a garnish. So once they're scrubbed and cleaned down, a nice couple of slices onto pastas or scrambled eggs can really change how the flavours are received in a dish.
Where did this all start, this whole journey for you, Matt? Like when did you wake up one day and go, you can grow some truffles? That's a good idea.
So for us, we were Law Dogs Australia originally. So for anyone that isn't local, about 13 years ago, we were doing protection and detection dog demonstrations out at the summit. About 6 or 7 years ago, a local truffle grower walked in and asked us to train a truffle detection dog for him. And after we trained and placed her at his farm, we were talking about that process in the commentary for the Law Dog show, and people were basically saying, where are the farms we want access? And at that time, there was nowhere open to the public. It's actually not easy just to have bus groups come to your property. There's a lot of council issues you've got to address, and accessible bathrooms and things like that. But because we were a tourist attraction, we saw there was interest in it, we had the ability to do it, and we basically put up a new sign and said we're going to become the Truffle Discovery Centre. So out there we have a display truffiere of a small number of trees where people can come and see how truffles are grown, learn more about the industry, and then of course taste yummy products, as Matt was talking about earlier on.
Your season, when do they start? How long do they go for? How many do you end up with at the end of it? And how many questions do you want me to ask you all at the same time? I've got all these questions that I want to know.
Some of us were at a long lunch yesterday. So, truffles do take about 4 to 5 years to grow from when the inoculated trees are first planted, but the process can start a lot longer than that. We need to do a lot of soil preparation to raise the pH of the soil up to a 9. Here in Australia, the European truffles won't grow naturally. They do need farm conditions. So commercial truffieres are now popping up all around the Granite belt, including people with very small numbers of trees right through to much larger commercial operations now. And for some people, it's taken 10 to 12 years before they saw their first truffle. So it's a very low yield, long process. The season then is normally June, July. So they're very cold, frosty months. So we need a short, hot summer, autumn rain, and then cold and frost for the truffles to ripen fully before they come out of the ground. And so here in Queensland, this is about the only spot where they will grow, right on the Granite belt, and in a little bit of Warwick and into the scenic rim at Arachula. So there's a number of growers trying with mixed success. And it does really depend on those temperatures and rainfalls. Last year we had abundant truffles everywhere through the region because we had received very high rainfall, which is quite good. And I think looking at the rainfall we've had recently, we're in for another bumper year this year.
So is it true then that a good year for truffles is generally a bad year for wine? Is that the case? I mean, that's what I've heard anyway. Too much rain is not great for grapes, but rain is good for truffles.
There's never a bad year for wine.
True, actually.
And any day ending in Y is a good day for wine. That's probably going to be a my case question. I don't know enough about the grape industry for that one. But one thing that does happen a bit here in Queensland, we do tend to find on the higher rainfall years, we do tend to get slightly warmer winters, and that does affect how much the truffles will ripen fully. We do want to get down to those cold, frosty, sometimes snow events. It's usually snowing next week, we say here in Stanthorpe, the visitors. And so we really do want those really cold, frosty conditions for them to ripen fully.
And it's interesting that I say to people, yes, use Stanthorpe truffles. And really, they can grow them there. And it's become kind of, it was originally, it's like Tasmania is growing truffles, and then Western Australia is growing truffles, and then it's expanded now, isn't it? All of East Coast Australia, there's certain pockets where they work. Like you hear about Canberra, and you hear about the Hunter and places like that.
Yeah, so definitely cold climate areas around Australia. They were first planted in Tasmania around 99, and then other cold climate areas like Manjimup and Margaret River in WA grow a lot of truffles, Adelaide Hills, Mornington Peninsula, the Blue Mountains. So we've actually just spent the weekend in Sydney ourselves doing a bit of research down there.
Oh, you went to Taylor Swift, didn't you? Yeah.
Nah.
Sorry.
It was a work trip.
Yeah, sure it was.
And we're the same. We were actually at Bondi Junction Markets on Friday promoting the region and promoting our products, of course. And people were saying the exact same thing. Truffles in Queensland, we've never heard of that. Some people still don't know there were truffles in Australia. So it's very much a burgeoning thing, but it's very exciting how much the industry's actually advanced over the last couple of years. So Chef Tony Southgate was in the media back in 2011 having truffles and saffron here in Stanthorpe, and people were actually growing truffles about 15 to 20 years ago here.
Wow.
The difference back then was no one really wanted to talk about it. There wasn't much of a public industry around it. There wasn't a tourism product. When you fast forward 5 to 10 years and come forward to the last couple of years, we've now got a lot less smoke and daggers. People are not afraid to have filming at your property. We had Landline approach us a little while ago, and the executive, I'm just loving watching someone else do all the hard work. Can I tell you? This is going to be the best gnocchi I've ever produced. When Landline,
Sorry, what's it called again?
No, I'm not saying it. Some of us like having the nonners slap us around.
Actually.
When people like Landline come along now and an executive producer says, what's a new angle, what are we going to do about the truffle farms? And we say, well, 3 years ago, no one even would let us film on their property. Now there's multiple businesses open. There's plenty of people having to tell their story, from Wildcat Tours to the Hoopers who are here today. And are happy to be interviewed on camera. And then we've got businesses like The Folly that have popped up with very mature, good-looking trees and a really good visual for filming for TV, and ready-to-eat product. And then you've got us with the commercialisation of long-life product throughout the year. So there's been so many advances for this industry segment in this particular region just over the last couple of years. It's been very exciting, and it's still growing. And as more and more people put more trees in, we're hoping to get more yield, more truffle numbers. And this little pocket of the world, even this weekend, we were receiving a number of export inquiries. So Granite Belt products and truffles could soon be heading overseas to Far Eastern places. So there's quite a lot has happened over the last 10 to 15 years.
Where are they mostly going now? Well, so the truffles that you produce in a season, is it tourists, are people passing through that are buying those, or sending them to restaurants, chefs to use in Brisbane, or where do they go to?
It really varies. At the moment, it's all going to truffle butter for you. And we've got a few other festivals coming up shortly. But yeah, so during June, July, fresh truffles is always the real the hero of the industry. So we love slicing truffles, and many of the farms will sell farm gate during June, July. And as Matt said earlier, they do need to be frozen to be stored for the rest of the year. We do actually sell freeze-dried truffle now as well, so you can reconstitute that in a pastas throughout the year. And we see a range of situations. So some of the local growers supply a lot of little cafes and restaurants to do a seasonal menu during winter, and then we've got people that buy products throughout the year to do dishes like this. So it's a very multifaceted industry segment right now.
Excellent. And how long does it take to train a dog to be able to sniff out truffles?
Well...
And what sort of dogs do you use?
We tell people...
What are they called? Sorry.
So a lot of our dogs do come from rescues and pounds. So formerly Law Dogs had a breeding program. We were using a lot of German Shepherds. Now we'll use a lot of unwanted dogs from pounds and rescues that have been dumped, and we try and train them up and give them a second chance at life. It's not quite as simple as that though. We will assess 10 dogs and pick the best suitable candidate for training.
And then the other ones are put down.
Yeah.
No, not really. Sorry.
Or rehomed or loving forever homes, Matt.
Sorry. Yeah.
Often will live with us and stay on for demonstration. So if people are looking for something to do this afternoon, the bus leaves at 2 o'clock to come and visit our centre. You do need to buy tickets in at the office there, and you can come and see the Truffier, as well as some behind the scenes stuff with the dog training. And the third question, a good trainer only takes a couple of minutes to train a dog, but we invoice the client 6 weeks' work.
Excellent. Great. It's perfect. All right, well, I better get on with making this gnocchi so that everyone can have a try of it. So, thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
I've got about 1,000 more questions for him, so in the next session I might bring him back up and we'll might even talk some more about truffles and some of the value-added products I'm using in the next session, and we'll talk a bit about why not to buy rubbish truffle oil and things like that, hey?